Welcome everyone to the first ever Radicchio Symposium that I know of, at least. We're really excited to have you here today to have a very deep dive into Radicchio, and hopefully to see you tomorrow as well at the Sagra for the celebration of Radicchio that many of you are involved with. I was trying to figure out, it's been a really busy few weeks, and I've been trying to figure out how to introduce all of this to you. But I guess I want to start with the first slide, which is the Radicchio expedition we went on. And I'm sorry, I didn't even do this. I'm Lane. Hi, my name is Lane. I run the Culinary Breeding Network, which this today and tomorrow is organized by Culinary Breeding Network, Chicory Week, and Washington State University Food System Program, which Abba Kaiser is here with. Thank you. And we also have Alice Formiga, who is with Oregon State University and eOrganic. She's going to be recording the day so that those of us who can't absorb all this information, and everyone who is not here with us, can watch this later on. The recordings will be on eOrganic. They will be on the eOrganic YouTube site as well as the Culinary Breeding Network YouTube site. It's going to take a little while to do the editing and everything of that, but we will email you all when that's available. So I'm just going to step back and say that about, I don't know how long ago it was, probably 12 years ago, I started working on Radicchio with farmers. And it was a very unknown crop to a lot of farmers, and definitely myself, who also worked at Oregon State University and trying to manage variety trials and figure out how in the world to grow this very unusual crop for North American farmers, at least. A lot of you have heard this story, so just bear with me. It was very confusing, so we're trying to demystify a lot of that here today. The names, the varieties, the types, how to grow it. And after I was working on that for a couple of years and still not doing a very good job at all, I went to Italy in 2014, where I met Andrea Ghedina, who is in the back. Hello, Andrea. He owns Smarties.bio right now, but he did not back then. Back then he worked for TNT Seeds. And then it was when I met him and we were walking out in the field that I realized, my God, this is why we don't know anything. There are so many different types, there's so many different varieties. They're bred very tightly to fit into a very particular slot. They're very sensitive to latitude. A lot of things I'm sure all of you know all about, but it was a major aha moment for me where I was like, oh my God, we have to be getting all this information from the Italians in order to grow this here. And most of the folks that have been were growing it successfully back then, at least, had gone to Italy and grown or learned from farmers in Italy. A lot of us do not speak or read Italian. A lot of us do not talk to people in Italy, and a lot of this information is not written down. So I became pretty obsessed with trying to figure out how to kind of connect. This is what I do, right? This is I don't grow anything, I don't sell anything. I just kind of say, hey, have you ever talked to this person? This is it. So anyway, I kind of got obsessed at that moment to figure out how to get this information in a way that we could bring it here. So many years later, with my friend Mirta Zirak, which I'll talk about in a moment, oops, sorry, you can go back to that. She organized this Radicchio expedition, as we call it. 22 individuals, farmers, and some other folks, some chefs and some just fans that are big time into it, went to Italy. We went into the Veneto, so this is where Radicchio is from, in this region of Italy in the northeast. And we visited a lot of different farms and seed growers. Sorry, you can go ahead now, Abba. Thank you. So we visited Levantia Seed Company, and this man is named Samuele. I actually also met him in 2014 because he was working at TNT as well with Andrea. We visited him. This is a field of Castelfranco, next field. And then we went and saw Andrea for the first time since our initial meeting, and with his some variety trials that he had going on with his seed company, Smarties.bio, that is grown and bred in Italy. And you guys might also know of the Gusto Italiano project that is partnered with Uprising Seeds, where Brian and Christina Uprising Seeds sells his seed through their website. keep going. And we went to some packing houses, so we saw a pretty large production and went in and saw packing houses. And it's not in this photo. This is all, Treviso Prococe, but there was also people that were by hand pulling apart all of the, what I like to call fluffing, the Casa Franco to make them very beautiful, all by hand. We saw some really interesting things here. It's okay. Okay. And then we visited some farms along the way that just contacted Cassie via Instagram. We went to go see this guy who's hilarious, Nicola, who was also like a bodybuilder, kind of like trainer, and loved Jerusalem artichokes and liked to smoke and grow radicchio at the same time. He was fantastic. He was quite a character. Here he is with his mom. They grew some really beautiful radicchio. They did a little forcing. We can see the next one. We got to see Treviso Tardivo out in the field growing. Keep going. And then Jason was very excited to see a major, a major production of it being forced inside of a greenhouse. Okay, and the cages that you guys have probably seen and maybe used similarly, and the final product. Then we also went to visit Andrea Piton, who Davide Zomolo is here, and he is up at registration. Hi, Davide, who's from the Friuli region of Italy, and he took us to meet one of the farmers that he works with that was doing his own breeding and selections on his farm. That was fantastic. And here we are. Here's Mirta, who's in the coat, and we're going to see her in a moment with the first presentation in the blue. And then Mirta also organizes an event in the north of Italy where she is from. She's from the Alto Adige region, and she organizes an event called the Jazz, which is a dialect word for ice, which is kind of inspired by the Sagra events that we have been doing here, which actually comes from Italy anyway. So it's really fun to see how we're all building upon one another and kind of going to the next level all the time with putting together these really fantastic events. So this was all a celebration of winter vegetables. Keep going. Here's Davide, and he has some of the traditional veggies that are grown in his area. Okay. And then Andrea with Smarties, with some of the things that he has for sale through Smarties and the Gusto Italiano project, some of the brassicas that you'll see tomorrow at one of the tables, the Sagra, as well as some of the radicchio. Just so if anybody has plans in maybe 5 weeks from now, you can come to Italy. Mirta is going to have her jazz for the second time. It's been on hold due to COVID, but she is going to have that. It's going to be December 11th. Yep. And it's workshops for growers as well as just a wonderful event to go to and learn about culinary aspects of radicchio as well. Okay, so that leads us, after the 22 of us went on this expedition just to learn more, I wrote a grant through and submitted it to Washington State Department of Agriculture, and we got a specialty crop block program grant for that. So this symposium and tomorrow is partially funded by that grant. It's called the Building Capacity and Support for Pacific Northwest Radicchio through Production through Market Expansion and International Exchange. Very sexy title. The objectives here are to create a Radicchio association in the Pacific Northwest, which we will touch on when we get to the marketing panel. The second one is to increase awareness and consumption of Radicchio through educational events, that's this, and culinary events like the Sagra tomorrow. It says that. And then develop opportunities for international information exchange. So we have gone back in May again, our second Radicchio expedition, to visit some more farms. We saw storage. We saw things that were grown in like the spring slot. We saw things that Andrea is going to talk about later, where they were harvested in November and December, and they were pulling out of storage. And selling right now in Radicchio, in Italy in May. And we did a lot of recording. Abba was there with us, and she was our tech support, and Sean Linehan was with us doing videos. So we'll have 3 videos in the future. They're not done yet. We'll have those on production, culinary, and history of Radicchio. And so that is the focus of this project. Keep going. And just want to say with the Sagra, the origin, we there was a lot of momentum that was already happening as well, due to many of us that are here in the room starting the Sagra in Seattle in 2018. In 2017, we had a meeting. The individuals that are in here in this picture, we had London Plain Restaurant in Seattle, Tom Douglas Restaurant Group also in Seattle, Local Roots Farm, which is Jason and Siri, Uprising Seeds with Brian, and myself, and we organized with these restaurant groups, having a lot of just resources for us to do it. We were able to pull off the Sagra in 2018 and 19 up in Seattle. About 325 people came. We kind of grew out of the space, which is why we came down to Portland and started doing it in this space. And it was like, it was really fantastic. All, like, people that love Radicchio are pretty obsessed with it. You guys know, because I'm talking about you. And this is our poster for this year, and the whole, this was Cassie's concept, where it was like, this is Oregon and Washington, and it's also the Veneto, all coming together because we're able to bring our Italian collaborators with us here to share information. Okay. During COVID, we were not able to have the Sagra, so we did Rad TV. This is on the Culinary Breeding Network YouTube site. Once again, thank you to Ava for making all this possible, because technology is very complicated. And so we were able to do, I think it was 7 hours all entire day long without breaks of Radicchio programming. This is not the way to do it, guys. You don't do it this way. Breaks. So anyway, it's really fantastic. A lot of people have gone back on there to watch it after the fact. Just during the actual live broadcasting, we had like 1,335 unique individuals come on, at least during that 7-hour period, which is incredible. And it was only like 76% from the US. So this is like a worldwide sensation. Okay. We have Chicory Week website. You guys probably know about this. So these are just some of the other things that we're working on to try to get information out about Radicchio. So we have 2 Instagrams. There's a Culinary Breeding Network one that I run, and then there's also Cassie with Chicory Week. So in case you want to, a lot of times people message me and like, who is this? I'm like, yeah, it's me. It's just me. And then the other one is Cassie, always Cassie. So, but we both are into promoting Radicchio. Also, we try to work really closely with journalists and the media to get more information about Radicchio out into the world. Last year, Brian at Uprising and I worked with the New York Times to get an article out about growing Radicchio. And then there's been a lot of culinary articles that have gone out. And Portland Monthly also did contact me yesterday, and I talked to them about this as well. So potentially we'll be joined tomorrow. Tomorrow we're expecting about 400 people, but we might be, that includes all of us that are participating in it as well, but we might be joined by folks that are just like, oh, what's this? This is a big like weird vegetable party? Like, let me check that out. So I really get excited about when we just get the general public pulled in to learn more about this. Okay. And I just want to give thanks to all the different individuals that are here to share this information with us, and that worked very hard to put this on today as well as tomorrow, because it's a really big feat. It's a lot of things to do. And so we have Andrea Gibilato, who has come from the Veneto. He has a farm outside of Venice where he grows Radicchio, among other things. And when we were in May, we went to, we visited his farm, Madre Terra, and he really just hosted us and shared so openly with us about Radicchio. Mirta Zirak, who is at Foradori, which is a wine estate, and she grows the vegetables there with her family. Her mother makes the wine, and her brothers, and she does the vegetable program, and they do cheese now, and she's the one that hosts the jazz, and she has been really like the bridge. She lived here in Oregon. In the past, she went to school at Oregon State University for a semester, and then she worked at Ayers Creek Farm. She also worked at Lovely's 50/50, and she kind of really feels like that she's Oregonian at heart. And she has just been, like, we could not have done this without her. Like, she is like this bridge to that world in Italy and connecting us with so many people. Andrea Ghedina, who is just absolutely wonderful, who has he's going to be sharing a lot with you. He has 3 presentations today, and he is the one that owns Smarties, and has shared very, very openly. Andrea has not put together his bio, so I'm just going to say what I know about him, but maybe we can share us a little bit more later. But he did receive his graduate PhD is all in Radicchio breeding. He knows a ton about Radicchio. You guys received this Radicchio zine. This is updated from the one previously. This started with Jason and Siri from Local Roots Farm, thank you very much, wrote the majority of this initially, and still most of the content that is in there. It's been added, some information has been added from Andrea Jubilato and Margaret Waterbury. These are our first 2 speakers, has edited it and added more information about Radicchio in the United States. But Jason and Siri ran into, I think, the PhD dissertation of Andrea Ghedina is online, and got a lot of the information about the history and the different types in here. So we're very, very grateful for all that he shared with us. And we captured a video of him that's like 45 minutes long talking when we were in Italy about all the different types. And it's just invaluable information, I feel like, for growing Radicchio as well as marketing it to consumers. Davide Zimolo, who is with us today. Thank you so much, Davide, for everything. He spent so much time taking us to farms, introducing us to farmers that others didn't know, translating constantly for us. He has a wide network of small farmers that are a lot like your farms in Italy that he works with. Abba Kaiser, I mentioned already, with Washington State University, who does all the tech stuff for us and is also a very brilliant and talented actress and singer. We just saw her perform as Patsy Cline. But so many of these things, just me holding this microphone is like impossible for me to do. I would never be able to figure any of these things out, and she has made all that happen. Thank you so much. Cassie Woolheiser, absolutely fantastic. Can't do any of this without her as well. Runs Chicory Week, Instagram, organizes all these things as well. Cannot thank her enough. Like, she's worked so hard on this. And unfortunately, 3 of these people have COVID right now. They're going to be joining us via Zoom, so they can't be here today, and they worked very hard on this. But I just wanted to mention how much we really, really appreciate them. And even though they're not here, just know that they have done so much behind the scenes to make this happen for all of us today. And I thank all of you guys for coming. I'm probably forgetting to thank people, but I just want you all to know that, like, this is, I'm standing up here introducing it, but this is like this incredible community effort to make all of this happen. And I'm so excited that you're all working so hard to get consumers excited about Radicchio, because it's just much more than just a head of something that looks like pink lettuce.